Hello, everybody. My name is Bob Wynn. I'm the founder of ProSquared. ProSquared provides financial education, career guidance, and wealth creation opportunities for athletes. To that end, we created this broadcast series, The Exponential Athlete. As the title suggests, we want to help athletes to be as much of a success off the field as they are on the field, thereby exponentially leveraging their potential and their brand to maximize their own quality of life, as well as that of their families and of their communities. This Exponential Athlete videocast is our forum to highlight and explore issues, events, and trends relating to sports, business, and society. In keeping with ProSquared's mission, we want our broadcast to be a conduit for learning, engagement, and the exploration of business opportunities. Our moderator today is the fun, smart, inquisitive Milani Mitchell, ProSquared's social media coordinator. Milani is a public relations and philanthropic expert and owner of Jam Management, LLC. After graduating from the Hampton University with honors, Milani swiftly immersed herself in the world of athletics and youth development. She has worked with athletes and sports programs at every level, from high school, college, and the pros. Milani has a unique ability to make complex issues engaging and relatable to her audience. This is why we are pleased that she is our moderator today, and it's my pleasure to turn the broadcast over to Milani Mitchell for her to introduce today's Exponential Athletes. Milani.
Thank you so much. You know what? I never really know what to say after all of that. I always feel like I'm going to be one of those people in the audience getting ready to accept the award, talking to my mom.
It's fun to introduce you because I don't think I'll ever run out of adjectives to describe you.
Thank you. I am super honored. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to our special guests today, as well as our participants that have already logged on. And we want to thank those of you that are going to come on a little bit later. And then we want to thank those of you that will not be on a little bit later, but that will have an opportunity to maybe watch this via our YouTube channel and or our social media. I am just so happy to be a part of the ProSquared team, where we are reestablishing a code of ethics and character and professionalism for athletes all over the world, both male and female. And it is just an honor not only to be able to speak with our special guest today, but to our special guests from past, present, and future, because we are really in a state and in a time where sports is really in a transition, in a very transitional phase right now. And I think if we do our jobs as men and women in working within the sports industry, if we do our jobs correctly, professionally, and healthy, then we can really engage with this next generation of players, of sports administrators, of coaches, of everybody, broadcasters, people that are the sports analysts. We can really move the needle on what it's going to take for us to be good people, as well as to solve the issues that we are having across the world with our heroes that we see Monday through Sunday. And so I am really, really excited. I want to thank ProSquared. Before we begin, I want to thank ProSquared for this opportunity. I want to thank everybody that helps us produce this webinar that we're gonna be able to be doing for long periods of time. I just want to thank everybody because it's important, and our job is to inform and educate people all over the world that don't have that sports, that educate them around recruiting, educating them on selecting and hiring an agent. What is your manager? Who's your attorney? You know, what role do your parents play? All of those things very genuinely, openly, and transparently. And I want to thank you guys for that. And so today we have on the Exponential Athlete, we have Mr. O'Brien Schofield and Mr. Daniel Moore. And we're going to talk to them both about their college career, as well as their post-college careers, as well as Mr. O'Brien's just huge successes in the NFL and what he was able to accomplish there. And then Mr. Daniel Moore, the entrepreneur and just business owner that you have become today, and just what that looks like today, and how you guys felt like your careers prior to today just really helped and became and inspired you to become the man that you are today. So before we get into Mr. Schofield, Mr. Daniel, please let us know where you have joined us from, what city and state you are in. Give us a little bit background about yourself, because your story is interesting to me as I was just doing my own personal research and as Robert was just giving me and just sharing some information about you to me. So before I get into how cool I think you are, can you just let our participants know where you're tuning in from and just a little bit about yourself?
So right now I'm tuning in from sunny Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm currently in the Phoenix area right now. And then what was the second question you said about my background?
Yes, give us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up. You know, how
Okay.
was it? How high school? Give us a little bit about that before we get into this University of Wisconsin football.
Okay, so it all started with my mom, Kimberly Moore, and my father, Daniel Moore, way back in 1986. It's
Giving us a little bit your age, but okay.
so yeah, no, I tell my age, it's like a Merlot. You just get better with time. So, but no, so started back in 1986 with my mom and my dad, born and raised in, I guess you could say East St. Louis, Illinois, the St. Louis metropolitan area. Um, Went to high school at O'Fallon Township High School. It's a high school in that same area there. And yeah, ended up going to school at Wisconsin. And I'm sorry, I have stuff that's beeping right now. But
You're fine.
yeah, but no. So I went to school at O'Fallon Township High School. Ended up, after high school, I went to a couple of different schools before Wisconsin. I actually went to Eastern
Okay.
Illinois University
Okay.
my freshman year. Really wanted to pursue my dreams of playing Division I football. So I knew I had to make a decision very quickly. So after my redshirt year, I decided to go to a junior college, which was Joliet Junior College, strictly on faith, no scholarship. And that was with the hopes of being re-recruited to actually make it to the Division I level, which was my dream. So I went to Joliet, played 2 seasons there, and then ended up being recruited by Coach Bilma to go to Wisconsin. A nice little road, but was able to make my dreams come true.
Nice. I want you to give us what was that transition like going from junior college into Wisconsin. And I ask you that because I work with high school students a lot and
Mm-hmm.
their transition during the recruiting process, from high school to college, right? And it's hard for some of them to adopt this concept sometimes, that going the junior college route sometimes might be better for some players versus others, because if you go the junior college route, you can still be re-recruited to go to D1. So talk us through how had to accept, okay, you know what? I need to go this junior college route to be re-recruited to go to Wisconsin, because it's frowned upon a lot, Daniel. And I am trying to make that something that we can unfrown about, because what you just said was key. My dream, my goal was to play Division I. It didn't matter how I was going to get there. I was going to get there. So can you talk to our participants today? Because we have some parents on that are now within this recruiting phase with their kids. And sometimes talking to them and they're like, oh, I don't want my kid to go to junior college. And what if he gets stuck there? And I'm like, no, this is what he needs to do. So talk to us about that and just bring that home for those of us that don't know anything about going to JUCO and then getting recruited out.
No, for sure. And it was actually a big part of my decision to go to Eastern Illinois because it was so frowned upon at that time. I was a defensive player of the year in the St. Louis metropolitan area. And, it's like, oh, you're going to junior college. You didn't make it. And so that was a big part of the reason for me just going 1AA. But once I got there, I realized that wasn't my goal. It wasn't my dream. And that if I had to take a step back to get there, that's what I needed to do. And in hindsight, looking at it, I would have preferred to just go to junior college right away and then be able to, go right on to have the opportunity to get re-recruited, because from speaking to the parents from a financial standpoint, if your kid doesn't have a scholarship, JUCO is the best route. There's some great junior colleges that do offer full tuition and room and board at some select junior colleges. And then if a kid goes there, let's say that they're having trouble qualifying for the NCAA due to grades, junior college is a great stepping stone to get those grades and get those credits that they need to prove to those other institutions that they can make it there academically. Mm-hmm. So it is frowned upon from a societal standpoint, but as an athlete, if your goal is to play Division I football and to ultimately make it to the NFL, it's a stepping stone, and it helps a lot of kids really get better prepared before they go into college. So me taking that route, it really kind of humbled me. Going that route, going from scholarship to having no scholarship. When I was at Joliet, it was tough because you have to take all accredited classes that transfer specifically to the institution that you're looking to go to. So that's really big. And so for me, I had to take 22 credits in the fall semester while playing football just to even be considered to go to Wisconsin. So there are some challenges that come up with going to junior college, but it's just all about having the right mindset and having those goals in place so that way you can do what you need to do to get out of there. Because some kids do go to junior college and they get stuck, but that's because they're not taking care of business.
Yes. And one of the other people I do want to let everyone know, our number one running back in the league right now, Alvin Kamara, he went that route. He was highly recruited in college, selected a college to go to, did not end up going to that college, went the junior college route, ended up being re-recruited by Tennessee. And now look. So I'm always trying to give those very small and stupid examples of what, going to junior college could really help. And the one last question before we get into you being in Wisconsin, can you give us how the re-recruiting process at JUCO differs from just a regular recruiting process? And I say that because I understand, just working with some of my guys that have had to go the junior college route. When you are re-recruiting yourself to go back to D1, that's really you. I mean, you've really got to be the person talking to these coaches. You've got to be the one that's making sure you're putting the good content out, because the coaches at the junior college are pretty much trying to get everybody out, or the kids that they know that are not going to go D1, that are going to stay there at the junior college. Those are the guys that they're working with. So talk to us a little bit about how you had to really play a huge role in your re-recruiting process to make sure, hey, I'm building the relationships with these guys, with these coaches at the D1 level, to say, hey, I'm here at this junior college. Watch me here. Let's connect here. Can I come and visit you here? Talk to us a little bit about how much discipline and just the follow-up process and you had to do, being that you were there and was looking to transition out.
Got you. So when I was there, my main focus was my grades and making sure that I had the proper credentials to transfer into the school. Because I knew that if I had that piece in order, then my play on the field would dictate itself. Because a lot of times, going to these big schools, it's not the player that they don't want. It's the grades that they don't have and the credits that they didn't take. So that was really the biggest discipline piece that I had, to just make sure that I was getting up, going to class, and making sure that I was in the proper classes, because they didn't tell me what were the core courses that I needed. I knew that I wanted to go D1, so I had to go sit down, talk with my counselor, and say, hey, these are the specific courses that I need in these areas that are going to transfer to Wisconsin, and what are the equivalents and things of that nature. As far as being recruited by the other coaches, I'm a firm believer that if you're taking care of your business and you're doing what you're supposed to do, your coaches will put you out there. And I had a great coaching staff, and Coach Tom Minnick and Coach Mitch, and they did a great job of just, because those recruiters are always going to come in. And the first question they ask is, okay, he's a good player, but let me see his grades. Let me see his transcripts. And then after they do the transcript evaluation, then they really start looking at your film. because that's the first thing. That's really the biggest obstacle, is getting these kids in there. And, I didn't have to do a lot of reaching out to coaches and things of that nature. I just had to go out there and perform, and I let my coaches handle the rest. Some things that I did do, I took it upon myself to go to some unofficial visits, just to where I had to drive up to Madison, Wisconsin, meet with them on my own dime and do things of that nature. But there wasn't a lot of, me making my own hit tape and things like that. Those aren't things that I frown upon. But if I was giving advice to any young kid, I would say focus on your grades, focus on what the coach is telling you to do, and the rest is going to happen the way it's supposed to.
Love it. Thank you so much. And we're just going to I'm going to pause right here just to let our participants know that if you have any questions for our guests today, please drop them in the chat. We'll get them answered for you. And during this break, I'm going to kind of slide in Mr. O'Brien Schofield, because we want to get both of you all's perspectives on playing D1 college football. Like I said, we have two guests today, Mr. Daniel Moore and Mr. O'Brien Schofield. He is a 2013 Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks. And like I told him, guys, before we added you guys in, I remember the 2013 championship because I was graduated from high school. And so I graduated from high school in 2013. And so everything about 2013, I remember. And we watched the Super Bowl every year in my aunt's house, Mrs. Schofield. And so it's always, who versus who and who's going to win. And that particular year, I had Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. And so this is full circle for me to even be able to be here, with you, interviewing you. You are a Southern guy. You are from Camden, South Carolina. And so before we even get into you selecting Wisconsin, because I'm like, Camden, Wisconsin. And I just know, by me being a Southern belle, I went to school in Virginia and it was cold and it was different. And so give us how did you make the decision to say, I'm going to leave Camden, South Carolina to go to Wisconsin?
Well, so I was born in Camden, South Carolina, and my father was in the Navy. So I served in the Navy for 24 years, and we traveled a lot when I was young. So I moved from Camden, South Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, to London, England, then to Chicago. And once we moved to Chicago, I think I was in the 5th grade, and my parents still reside there now. So most of the time I say I'm from Chicago because that's where I grew up, and Chicago and a bit close to Wisconsin. So I was able to be in that Big Ten country, and those are the type of games that came on TV in my local area.
Yes. Yes. And so you, being that your father was in the Navy, do you think at what point in your life did you realize that having that opportunity to travel and to experience so many different cultures, at what point in your life did you realize that was really effective into who you were as a person and as a player? Because you had seen so many different things, you had experienced so many different cultures.
You know what? I don't think I recognized it until maybe halfway through college.
Okay.
Because as a child, you don't understand. You're going wherever your parents tell you to go, but the experiences and being open and, just having an open mind to different cultures, different beliefs, different upbringing, their backgrounds, like that allows you to be a great teammate. That allows you to fit into the locker room. That allows you to build a lot of good relationships.
Okay. So Daniel already walked us through the process that he had to take in making it to play D1 football. Talk us through being recruited and how you made your decision on where you wanted to go to school to play football.
Okay, so I went to North Chicago High School in North Chicago, Illinois. And we only had one guy or two guys go to the NFL from my school. One was Michael Turner. He played for the Atlanta Falcons. You remember him running back. He went to my high school, and another guy was Johnny Johnson, but that was like in the 70s or the 80s. So when he went, it's been a long time since anybody went to school, like to a big college from my school. So recruiting wasn't a big thing. You know, it wasn't a lot of scouts coming. I didn't see a lot of guys getting letters. I didn't see a lot of guys leaving and going and playing. So my belief in it happening for me all came through my work ethic and the goals that I set to where I wanted to get to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, as I think about it now, it's still unbelievable because, you know, those things you just feel like they don't happen, you know? You're in a situation where no one comes out of your school, no one gets an opportunity, no one really gets that look, but I just believe, man, and everything that I could do in my power to do to get myself out there, I did it. I did it. I did it.
Talk to us, and Daniel, I want to get your input on this as well. You guys can go back and forth, or one can answer and then one can piggyback off of the other. A lot of times our parents have, when their kids are being recruited and they're talking to different coaches, they have this idea of how college is going to be like once their son leaves. And our sons have this same kind of mentality, like, you know, coaches called me every day, and or you know, I've been on multiple, you know, visits, and when I get there it's going to be a breeze. Can y'all talk to us about the reality of truly what it takes to not only sometimes even redshirt and or start, but what really happens when you get to these schools? Because I think for me, when talking to some of my students that are in college, you know, they'll call me back and they'll be like, "Man, I didn't know we had to get up this early," or I'm not used to doing 3 a days. I'm used to doing 2 a days," or "I didn't know they were going to make me eat this much," or "I didn't know, you know, the tutor lady was going to be traveling and I was going to only have an hour to do my homework, and then the rest of the time I was going to have to read the playbook." Can you guys walk us through that freshman year of college and the reality of, oh crap, this is real. I've got to earn my spot on the field.
Well, for me, when I first got there, it was just kind of like I was just excited that I actually went to college. I was the first person in my family to ever go to college, so I was just there off of excitement. But it really starts to settle in to where you feel like I don't have enough time in the day to do all of these things that they want me to do, you know. And unless you really have your mind right, there were kids, for example, like the first day of practice, like the first day of camp, that were on full scholarship that left in the middle of practice. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, you quit and went home in the middle of practice on the first day? And it's like, what? You know, and I don't
never.
No, I'm so serious. Like, there were a couple kids that have literally, they had full scholarships too. And they left in the middle of practice on the first day, and they're like, "This is not it for me," you know. And I think it really, I don't know if you could ever truly prepare a kid for that experience. I think it starts with the foundation at home, with them having good, you know, good home training, understanding that, hey, when you make a decision, you committed to this, and you ain't coming back home. So that's what my mom told me. She gave me 2 options. I was either going to the military or college, and you wasn't giving me a gun. There's no way I'm going to the military. So I knew for me that I had to stick it out. But it is very challenging, you know, doing all of that. But it just comes down to how bad do you want it, and is this what you want to do?
Okay, Mr. Schofield.
Man, I would say for me, it was a really big eye-opener because I was always the underdog in sports. You know, I was just the guy that always got overlooked, wasn't appreciated. I felt like people always tried to put a ceiling on me. You know, I would just say it has to start in high school with your mindset. I mean, you have to allow your child to go through some things and see how their mind works. And you want to start building that mental toughness, because it's nothing what you see on TV. It's nothing what you see in movies. It's real work. You know, it's real work. You're going to find out really quickly, do you fit in? Do you belong? Are you going to be able to be here? Because your freshman year, I mean, man, I was so stressed out. I was so frustrated because I felt like I had no time to do anything. I wasn't getting sleep. You know, I was just stressed because it's just like I had to be somewhere. Like my whole day was scheduled, so it was like it was never a time where you're like, great, I'm here. You know, I get to relax. I'm in college. Like I didn't realize the college experience maybe until year 3. I was like autopilot.
Wow.
It was that crazy. That was just for me, you know, because I'm coming from a school that was on state assistance. Like we didn't have our school wasn't a good school, you know. So even like the work, I was blown away. It's like my first day of class. Like I got an 8-page paper due a week and a half. I'm like, what? 8 pages? Never wrote more than 3 pages.
And we have a big game on Saturday.
Exactly. And the mindset, you know, you have to realize why you're there. That's the first thing, because you can go there and it could be party time. You can go there. It could be just, you can't wrap your head around what's going on. So you never quite like get into a rhythm. You never quite get into your own system of how you need to do things. Or you can understand exactly why you're there. And if you do that, I mean, the focus is hard because it's no more mommy and daddy. You know what I mean? It's no more uncle. It's nobody sitting there holding your hand, telling you to go to class, make sure you're doing your work. It's like they're going to treat you like young men. They're going to put you in positions to fail. That's exactly what they're going to do. And if you fail, they're going to move on to the next person. You're talking 120 guys on a football team, 80 on scholarship. Everybody think they're going to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the mentality.
That's the reality.
Yes. So it's like your whole life becomes competing. You're competing in everything. I'm competing in the weight. I'm competing how I eat. I'm competing at study table. I'm competing with my grades. I'm competing showing up on time. I'm competing in how I'm building relationships. I'm competing in how I'm networking. I'm competing in how I'm watching film, how I conduct myself off the field. I'm competing. Like it's you can be institutionalized in, well, for me, I would say I felt that way because it was like, this is what I have to do no matter how bad I don't want to do it some days. It's like when I tell myself I have to do it, it's getting done no matter what. And I saw a lot of guys who didn't have that discipline or weren't raised like that. And those are the guys that pretty much fall to the wayside or lose out on those opportunities. All those smiling faces and high fives and buddies from the coaches, that's going to go away real quick. You're just another guy as soon as you get on campus. You know, they'll treat you a little certain type of way as a freshman, but as soon as you get on that field, it's like it's grown man time. You know what I mean? Like you're going from 18, you're playing with 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds. There's a mentality difference. There's a strength difference. There's a maturity. You know, there's a football intelligence, IQ difference. So it's just like you're coming from a place where you might have been a man on your team. And you go there and you recruited with 15 other guys that's the man that they're, you know, and 3 might play the same position as you. And we're going to be friends, but we competing for our dream right now. You know, think of that mentality. You know, you just like, I mean, I'm getting excited right now because I love competing. I love competing because it's just, I've always been the guy people told me what I couldn't do and what I wasn't going to do, you know, and from high school to have the plan B. You know, I said, forget a plan B. There was no plan B. You know,
there was no plan B.
My coach put us, he said, how do you say that, Dan? He said, school first, football second. So, I mean, that's the mentality because they will always remind you why you are there. You know what I mean? Like you can't get caught up in the college lifestyle. That's just what happens. That's what happens.
I want to ask you guys because ProSquared is all about the solution, right? We want to be the solution to a lot of those problems. We know we can't solve all of them, but what are some of the things you guys think would have assisted you all prior to going to college, and then in college for you to manage some of that schedule? Because a lot of what I hear you saying is time management. That's a huge piece, but then the other piece is your mentality of competition. And so what are some of the things that we can do as someone that's looking to solve the problem, as someone such as myself, being a Black woman trying to aid our sons or our husbands and or our brothers or cousins throughout that process? What are some of the things that would have helped you all to manage your schedule better, and then at least help you with your mental health? Because that's exactly what that is.
Yes, it is. There you go. You hit that right on the head, because I'm telling you, like, you can literally go crazy because of expectation. You never had expectation placed on you like you're about to have. You know, like, even though you're there for school, it's like you're there to play football. You're there to win games, not just to play football. So there's an expectation in performance from your coaches, from yourself, from your family, from the university. You know, and if you're not performing, then they go and recruit another kid in your same position, and they just move you out of the way. So then there's guys that happen to when you realize right now, okay, I need to really lock down on school because my professional career doesn't look promising. You know, and a lot of coaches have control over who's given that opportunity to even, you know, put film on the field to play. So from a schedule standpoint, I would say train them to have a schedule now, you know, their own schedule, and everything you do is scheduled, because that's how it's going to be. Like, everything's going to be scheduled. There's no such thing as free time until maybe the season's over and you're doing winter conditioning for like a month. But I mean, there's no free time, because they want you to stay focused. They don't want to give guys opportunities to get in trouble and stuff like that. So they try to keep you in the facility around as much as possible. They'll drag out your day.
Okay, Daniel?
No, just to piggyback off of that, I think that, you know, kids should be trying to go to as many camps as possible, you know, over the summer, just because it gets them into that, it gets them that experience of being away from home, being in a two-a-day situation, competing with guys that they've never met before. And that's really kind of the closest, I guess you could say, kind of like a fire drill that you can get to, is competing in college, is going to those camps in the summer. And I think that that'll help, and that'll, you know, because either to build confidence for the kids, you know, and let them know that, hey, I can compete here, but it also gives them that experience of being on the college campus and competing with guys across the nation as well.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for that. Again, parents, people that are listening, I know we have some college kids on here as well today as well. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll get them answered for you. We're going to move now into your NFL career, Mr. Schofield, and then Mr. Moore, you assisting Mr. Schofield in a very public relations kind of way. But before we do that, I want to know from both of you all, because Mr. Schofield, you actually was drafted. Daniel, you were not drafted, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I want to get into those two realities, because I want not only our parents but our ProSquared team, because a lot of our ProSquared members are love sports, but not necessarily work in the sports industry. And so I want us to get an understanding and the reality of getting to your junior year, senior year, first making the decision to go pro, and then making the decision to maybe go to possibly go pro, but not going pro. So if you guys could walk us through that, O'Brien, I'll let you go first, and then Daniel, I'll let you go second. And just, when did you realize that, hey, I want to play professional football? And then your process into actually whether it was combine or pro day. And then Daniel, if going pro was your goal, when did you realize that you wanted to go pro? And then what happened in your life that said, okay, that's not going to be the route for me, but I still want to work with NFL athletes, so I'm going to take this route. So O'Brien, we'll go with you first. We'll go right into Daniel, and then we'll get into your NFL career, O'Brien.
Well, I said I was going pro at 7 years old. So
okay,
from that point on, like, as a mindset person, my every decision, my lifestyle was me going pro. I talked about it, I said it, I set goals. I had goals on my locker, goals in my notebook, goals everywhere I could see in my house, because I just had to see it. I had to have my affirmations about that. And, you know, it wasn't I seeing reality really until going into my senior year, honestly. It was just all belief inside. I didn't hear nothing. I didn't see anything. I didn't have the stats that I thought that you needed to go to the NFL, but I knew my ability. But there was a major jump between my junior year and senior year. I pretty much tripled all my stats. And it was just mainly off one coach telling me that I had an opportunity to go to the NFL. He's like, man, I talked to one of my buddies. He said, if you were to go to the NFL this year, like right now, you'll probably be a 6th or 7th round pick or a free agent. And that's when I was I got a chance to go like right now, like off of what I just did. I was like, okay.
Right.
I'm definitely coming back. But he was like, you know, I believe you could be a 1st round pick. And he said, everything you do from the moment you walk out of my office, it matters. So from that mindset, I took the approach of watching more NFL film. Like, what are these guys doing? I started watching guys around college. Who are the top defensive ends? Who get all the pub? Why are they getting pub? What are they doing? I studied it like that because I was like, I got to put myself in that position, you know?
Yes.
So I think as far as making that decision, it really comes down to, are you ready? You know, are you ready? Because the NFL's a whole nother monster. It's like college is nothing compared to NFL. And it's like you need college. You really need college to prep you.
Yes.
Because now you know, the NFL, you're dealing with money. You know what I mean? You're not dealing with somebody's alumni pride anymore. You're dealing with somebody's business. You know what I'm saying? You're dealing with coach's well-being, his job.
Yes, come on.
The players aren't performing. So it's a different pressure. You know, it's a different pressure. They pay you to play football, and they really want you just to do that. You know, now you see the more than an athlete and all of that.
Yes.
I was coming out, it was like nobody was really trying to help you get anything off the ground because it's like, man, focus on football right now. Like, that'll come. You know, you don't want to hear that, but that's how it was. So in their mind, we pay you all this money. All we want you to do is love and play football. And we want you to just be this person all the time. And then when you get on the field, we want you to be the meanest person that, you know, we're afraid of you if we saw you on the field. Like, that's a mental switch, man. That creates a dual personality where it's like, I got to be this monster, this beast, this killer on the field. But then you want me to smile and kiss babies and sign autographs. And in public, you want me to deal with problems without getting upset. You know, you want people to not be intimidated by me because I talk with my hands or because of my body language or what I look like. I mean, it's so much that it's like you're always thinking. In college, you can kind of just play football and, you know,
be kid.
Fun. I got my homies, I got my teammates. And the NFL is like, you have teammates, but everybody's not your friend because, I mean, everybody's trying to get paid. You're taking somebody's spot. Somebody's on the practice squad waiting for you not to do the right thing. All that, you know, this is different. It's different. They'll tell you the wrong thing to do to be successful in the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it really starts. It really starts with your mindset. So I can say as much as you can expose your child in high school to.
Okay.
Just like Dan said, going to different camps, letting your child experience other players. I mean, they'll see their own skill level versus other guys around the country, because you can always think you're the best, but you're going to see some guys where it's like, what? This guy's same age as me, like a grown man. You know, like that's just how it is. So I would say that it would be very important whether there's mom and dad, uncle. I would say if there could be any male presence, any male presence,
Wow.
okay, because I'm gonna tell you right now, male presence, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. Nothing against moms and aunts. Like, we love you. That's the nurturing. But you're gonna need some male presence because these coaches are gonna test you. You're going to college to get broken. You're going to NFL, you're gonna be broken. Your confidence is gonna waver sometimes. You're gonna need someone to be there for you in a way where it's not a pity party. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
somebody to shake it off. Like, they have to really listen to what you're saying, but not really allowing that to affect them and how they're advising them. Because my dad was he was in Japan for the first 3 years I was in college. So he left, I was 18, he came back, I was 21. So it was like a totally different thing. He wasn't there.
Okay.
In those 3 years he wasn't there, I struggled with how I dealt with the coaches. I struggled with the whole experience. It wasn't until he started being present where I really excelled. So even through the recruiting processes, when the coaches are, asking to come to the house, whether married or not, have some type of male presence when you schedule.
Okay.
Because men can read men, and
okay.
you want a straight shooter, because these coaches, they're gonna BS you. This is what it is, and you want to get as much honesty as you can because you're allowing your child pretty much to be raised by that person for the next 4 to 5 years. If you really look at it, they're gonna take on the mentality of that coach. They're gonna take on the ideas of that coach because that's what's getting in your head. You got to think about that. So that the coach is at some point, that player, if you're bought into that system, you're going to pick up some of those qualities. So it's important for a parent to look at those things as well.
Okay. And Daniel, can you speak on that a little bit? Just like I said, the question is just, when did you realize that you wanted to go pro? And then when was the realization that, okay, now that I'm not doing that, I want to do something differently?
Yeah, so I was probably around the same age as OB, probably about 7 years old. I wanted to change my name to Deion Sanders. I wanted to go play for Michigan, and I was going to the NFL. My mom, she had a conversation with me at a very young age, and it was very real for me. She said, you got two options. She's like, you either going to the military or you going to college, and I ain't got no money for college, so figure it out. And it was very real for me because my cousins, like literally the night after high school graduation, they got shipped off to the military. So I knew she wasn't playing. And for me, growing up in the area that I grew up in, low socioeconomic, growing up in the hood, I'm like, I got to go to the NFL so I can take care of my family, so I can, get my mom a house and like do all these things. Once I got to college, once I got to Wisconsin, I had some personal things going on. My stepdad had kind of left my life. My uncle at the time, we had kind of fell out and we were all together through college. And once I got to Wisconsin, I kind of honestly lost my mind a little bit because I had went through such a long road just to get there. And then once I got there, I hadn't partied, I hadn't drank, but you get to Wisconsin and it's a huge drinking culture and it's a huge party culture and everybody wants you to be there. And so I really started like becoming the life of the party. One of my nicknames was, what was it, bro? It was like Mr. Official Visit.
Mr. Official Visit.
Wow.
He treated every day like he was on an official.
He was on an official visit. Wow. And listen, I know what that's like. So that's deep. That's deep.
Because for me, it was like I made it. Like I finally made it to D1 after all this time, and I kind of lost my way. And OB would tell me all the time, he's like, bro, focus on your stats. You need 6 sacks to go to the NFL. And I'm like, bro, I'm a run stopper. Like, I'm going to the NFL regardless. Like you can't tell me nothing. Nobody could tell me nothing. And then I just knew it. Even after I suffered a knee injury my junior year, I'm like, I'm still going to the league. It's not even a thought process. But after it got very real for me after watching the draft. I was talking to some of the coach scouts, and you really couldn't tell me nothing then because I got scouts calling me. I had a great pro day. I'm going, even if it's a free agent, I'm going. Like, there's nothing gonna stop me. And it didn't happen. And so I actually ended up getting a tryout with the Chicago Rush. And so my main concern was like, well, how much am I gonna be making? And they were like, well, $1,200 a month. I'm like, $1,200 a month in Chicago. Like, how am I going to survive off of that? So I'm training for this workout, and I'm hitting the bag, and this bag is heavy, and my shoulders like not feeling great, and all I'm thinking about is $1,200. And I'm like, nah, I gotta figure something else out because this ain't it, And so for me, it was really at that point that I was like, okay, because I had always, OB said he never had a plan B. I was always that person that was like, oh, I got to have a plan B, like if it doesn't happen. And for me, I always just big believer, big optimist, like I can do whatever, whether it be my brains or whether it be my body. And so at that time, I was just like, I'll use my degree and I'll go make NFL money somewhere else doing something else. Because in my mind, I was like, if somebody could sign these NFL checks and these guys are making all this money, I got to figure out how to get to be the guy to sign the checks, and then I'll be all right.
Yes. And just to even just touching on that a little bit, one of our questions in the chat was that, nowadays the minor leagues are really growing for other sports. And do you guys think that with minor leagues being something that now players, not in football, but in other sports, players are saying, okay, hey, well, I can go minor league and go straight to the NFL. Being that you guys, went to college, went to a D1 college before, going pro, do you think that will continue even in the long run to be a better route for our athletes, that they still go to school? Or do you all think that, all right, hey, if this guy is good enough to come right out of high school and play pro football, that they should? Which of the two? And, just kind of speak on the importance of, to me, it's education. You go the educational route because upon graduating, you leave with a degree that says you are an expert in something, right? Yeah. And so just talk to us about the importance of, or the difference really, that you see with just longevity and maybe with football guys taking the arena route possibly, or just saying, hey, we should still make college the route that our players or that our students need to go before coming into the league.
Yeah, I think there's a number of options and routes you can get there. If your goal is to make it to the NFL, I never want to tell somebody, don't go pursue your dreams and your goals. Like, go get that. But what I do also know is that college isn't for everybody. There's a lot of guys that come out of college that have degrees, and that comes from a policy standpoint, but they have these cluster majors. They get sociology degrees, communication degrees, Afro-American study degrees, and they come out and it's like, well, what am I going to do with this? But I really think the focus should be on making sure that guys do have some education, but come out with a skill or a trade, as opposed to just having these degrees that don't really kind of put you anywhere. But it's also very tough because at the same time, your full-time job is football. So there's this very delicate balance that you have to have with going with taking both routes. But I'm a firm believer in education. And that's definitely something that needs to be had. But I think there should be some options for players to go into skills or trades and to look at those things as opposed to just, a sociology major or communications major.
Okay.
For me, I actually had a sociology major, Dan, so don't be trying to crap on my major, bro.
Nah.
No, I would say honestly, the biggest thing education is a huge thing.
Yes.
For me, it was not a huge thing. It was not a huge thing because I was like, it's no way I can engineer and be a with how the schedule is going, how things were. So I was like, I had to make a decision, what was going to allow me the most time to put into football. And I made that decision and I switched my degree to sociology. I needed more time to watch film. I needed more time to be in the weight room. I needed more time to take care of my body. Like, that's how I looked at it, because I just could not see myself not going to the NFL. Even though it didn't look like it was happening, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. So like how you saying about the plan B, my plan B was going to be in football some type of way. I was going to be coaching. I didn't see myself working in any type of corporate world or having a job like that ever, So that's why it's like, me and Dan laugh about it all the time, but it's like I literally put everything into football. Like I just made sure I just did everything. I just had to.
Okay.
I just had to.
And we're going to get right into your NFL career. You were drafted by the Arizona Cardinals in the fourth round in 2010. And I've worked with a couple first rounders, and then I've worked with some guys that would go later on in the draft. And one of the things I like to tell my student athletes that I work with that are in college now is, like you guys said earlier, it's nothing like what we see on TV, right? There is an entire week prior to the draft that happens with these guys, and some of these same guys have also, just weeks prior, just were in Indianapolis with, at the Colts Stadium doing combine. And so one of the things I always try to tell the guys when Jam Management partners with agents, and just doing their PR and things of that nature leading up to the draft week, I'm always saying, this is huge. Draft week is really, really big. You have players that have never even been in that multitude of light and fashion and stardom. And they're kids. You guys are kids. You guys are kids when you get drafted. And so I'm always saying to them, that green room, if there's one thing I can say about, working with players, being in that green room on draft day is one of the most, or in the audience, because sometimes just depending on where they have it, only the player and maybe the agent or the player and the mom or somebody can sit actually in the green room, because you have to come out and say. So depending on how they have it, your team, like your PR and your attorney and all of those, they might have to sit in the audience. But I've been on both sides, right? I've been in the green room with the player, and then I've as well been in the audience. And what I try to tell my students is that you honestly never know what's going to happen on that day, as well as it is one of the most emotional power trips that I've ever seen in my life, because there you are sitting in a room, and 9 times out of 10, unless you've been on the draft board and have been predicted to go number 1, number 2, number 3, everybody after 3 is like
you don't know. You don't know.
After 3, you do not know. You don't know. I mean, you could even be thinking you're going 4, and then you end up going like on day 3. So I'm always trying to have that conversation very openly, very transparently, because I have seen the hoorays, I have seen the tears, and I have seen the foul language. And so I know prior to you being drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, super high on the draft board, O'Brien, and then you got injured. And so you could not go to combine, correct?
Yes, well, I went to the
because
combine,
of that.
I couldn't participate.
You could not participate.
Yeah,
so there you are at the combine, not being able to participate, but you are a competitor. You've already told us that you are a competitor, but you are now there with some of the best competitors in the world, and you cannot compete. And you are now thinking like, oh my gosh, what's happening to my draft board? What is my agent saying? What are the coaches going to call me? And I always tell people too, during combine, you guys go through a series of interviews with different coaches as well. Walk us through that competitive mentality, but then reality setting in, saying, nobody is even going to be able to see me compete at this moment. I'm either going to have to do a pro day, or I'm either going to really have to sell myself leading up to the draft.
Yes. And I'm gonna say for me, the key to everything was faith. My faith in God. Like, it's faith.
Okay.
Because there's so many factors why I shouldn't have made it. So many factors why God should make it. I mean, it's luck that goes into it. You know, I blew my knee out 2 months before the draft at the Senior Bowl, first practice. You know, and I'm at the combine. I'm seeing all these guys, and I'm mixed emotions. You know, I'm mad because I can't compete. So I'm like, they're getting excited about that. That's not even that good. You know, that's what I'm telling myself. And, you know, at the same time, I'm hurt because I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, I lived my whole life to like just experience this. I can't go out here and run the 40. Like, I could never experience that. But the area that I could compete in was the interviews, because, you know, they set up your schedule to interview you every night with different teams. You got different number of teams you're interviewing with, maybe in like a little hotel suite style of a room. And I mean, you feel like you're on a panel, like you're in the middle of the panel, because you're sitting in
yes, you are.
And you got the owners, the GM, the head of pro scouts, the coach. They're all in this room, you know, around you in a circle, sitting around, asking you questions about your past, about high school, like stuff you didn't even think they went and researched, you know. And if you have any things like this, players have gotten in trouble, you know, they told me they got a foul pulled out on them. You know, I didn't have any off the field issues, so character was never a problem for me. That was always the thing that helped me, really, was my character. But being in that room, they had a screen in there. They were playing my film.
Yes.
And in college, I just knew my job. You know, I was like, I'm doing my thing. I know what I'm supposed to do. I ain't worried about nobody else. But in NFL, you can't be like that. I was told the more you can do, the more valuable you are. So because I couldn't physically do nothing, my time was still rehabbing, working out, but putting all my mind into the film part of it, understanding coverages. Because I played defensive end in college, but I was going to be playing linebacker in NFL. So it's a whole new position, whole new different understanding. So once I was able to grasp that, I killed my interviews. Like, I killed them. I knew I did. I left out of there feeling great. I was like, it's nothing they could say. You know, I left out everyone having a great feeling. You know, that's all I could say about it. I left out having a great feeling about everything. They really wanted to know where my mindset was about recovering from my injury. Because still at that time, that's 2010, like ACL still was one of those things like, whoa, guys ain't just bouncing back from ACL.
From that, correct.
Yeah. So it was a huge eye-opener for me, just into understanding that this is bigger than sport now. You're walking into a corporation, understanding everything is business now. Like, everything is conducted that way. So it's a switch of mindset. You know, the competing is not just on the field. It's how you are in the classroom, how you conduct yourself, the front office. You know, are you building relationships with people in the front office? Because those are the things that are very important. I have a little brother that plays for the Washington Wizards. He was just finished his rookie year. So I talk to him all the time. And what I do understand from a sports standpoint is, when you first get into this professional realm, you need to find somebody that you can follow, where you can learn how to be a professional.
Okay.
Because like me and Dan was having a conversation the other day, and I was saying, man, being a professional is a way of life. It's not how you talk on the phone. It's not how you interview. It's not how you dress. It's literally a way of life. Am I carrying myself professional all the time? Meaning, do I have a schedule? Am I listening to my word? Am I always on time? Am I staying late? Am I just saying, once I get to work, there is no time clock? Because the object is to get the job done. Like, who are you going to be? And all those things matter, you know, all those things matter in that realm. So I would say for you, when you're talking to these guys, from a reality standpoint, tell them to never lose sight of what it's like to not be in the NFL. You wanted to you'll do anything to make it. So be grateful. Be grateful, because so many guys get passed up that should have had an opportunity, so be grateful wherever you go. They'll say this, but draft night is crazy. Every year you'll see guys waiting. Happened to Aaron Rodgers. You can bring up some examples to some big name guys who dropped. Look at Lamar Jackson. He was the last pick in the first round. Like, he got the Baltimore Ravens traded up out of the second round. Yes. So it was like, it could have been a situation where it don't matter how good you are. It's opportunity and how you conduct yourself.
Okay. Daniel, talk us through the relationship that you and O'Brien have and how you began to work for him as really on the back end as part of his team. How talk us through the relationship, and then talk us through just the mentality and the work and the effort that you had to put in, because here's the switch that you went through, right? You played football. You played with him. You understand the level of discipline, of character. You understand the hard work that it takes to play. But you now have to put your other hat on to figure out what's in the best interest of your client financially, spiritually, mentally. So walk us through that relationship and how that switch was from you actually being on the field and then in terms now being off the field and looking at it with a whole different lens.
Yeah, so it was one night me and OB were hanging out in college. I'll never forget it. We were riding down, I think it was West Johnson. And we were in his car, and he was like, "Bro, I want to tell you something." He was like, "Bro, I love you, man." And he was like, "Man, if you don't go to the NFL, bro," he's like, "I want you to work for me." And I was like, "Bro, that's great, man. I appreciate that." It gave me the warm fuzzies. And but I was like, "Bro, but I'm going. I'm good. But I appreciate that." I'll never forget it. So went through, didn't get drafted. I started coaching down in Yuma, Arizona, at a junior college down there. And OB just happened to get drafted to the Cardinals, and I just happened to start working in Yuma. Long story short, after going through that process, I was like, I really don't want to be a coach right now. And let me call my buddy and see if that offer's still on the table. So I picked up the phone one night. I told him about the struggles I was having. And I was like, "Bro, you remember that night?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Man, well, come work for me." So started working for him. And I would say, it was so much fun. You know what I mean? I'm so grateful for that opportunity because it allowed me to really experience the whole NFL lifestyle without putting on the pads and actually cashing the check with my name on it. But other than that, I got to experience everything. So to O'Brien, I'm forever grateful for that, because I was really able to live my dreams vicariously through my best friend and seeing him go through all of that. And just as far as like making that switch for me, I just looked at it like, well, what would I want somebody to be doing for me if they were in this position? And so I just tried to do everything it was that I could for O'Brien in that time. And so I think we had a great time doing it, and it was a lot of fun and learned a lot. And it really helped me to grow into the person I am now, and it really allowed me to see that I wanted to be in business and that I wanted to particularly work with athletes just because of the mindset and some of the unique challenges that they have and the team of support that they really need. And so that's that experience really led me to doing what I'm doing now.
So talk to us a little bit about what role exactly did you play in the life of O'Brien Schofield? Because when working with ProSquared members, and especially our athletes, we're always having to educate them on what what and who your PR manager is, what and who the agent is, what and who the attorney is, what and who the person that handles your endorsements. So talk us through the role that you actually played and how it differs from maybe some of the other team members that you all had on the team around O'Brien.
Yeah, so my role was not the professional role. I didn't manage the finances or any of the legal things or things like that. But I was the guy that would call and set the dinner reservations. I was the guy that made sure that things ran smoothly for him. When we were out, I was security. When we're going to different kind of, when we're going to like different business meetings, I was the person kind of just observing and kind of vetting the person's intentions. Anytime we had to go somewhere, I was driving. booking reservations, doing those types of things just to really kind of free up his time. And really, it was just whatever O'Brien asked me, it's like, he would call me nice. He'd be like, nice, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And I would just do it. So really, whatever it was that he wanted done, that he asked me to do, that's what I did.
Yes, yes. And so essentially you were really like the public relations manager. You were the person that was you were the PLC, the point of contact for him during that time. But Brian, give us the importance of actually having someone like Daniel do those things for you, because now we do have, foundations and companies like More Than the Athlete, and we see where you have players now like your LeBron Jameses that say, okay, hey, I'm going to take the same people that I went to school with, the same people that I grew up with. We're all doing something very different. I'm the player, they're the this. Talk to us about how important it really is to stay connected with trustworthy people in your life to help you become successful, but even the importance of them being educated, because a lot of times I think sometimes in our community we try to keep those people close, but sometimes those people that are close are not those people that are educated. So talk to us about the importance of Daniel not only being a close friend, but Daniel, you trusting the fact that, okay, Daniel has at least, a bit of education, and then the education that he doesn't have to help me in this way, he's not afraid to either go and get it, go and take the class, or go and find somebody to model, that kind of professionalism. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I would say for me and Dan, our connection was more on a spiritual connection.
Okay.
And for me, he always had my back. You know what I mean? He always looked out for my best interest. And I recognized what I was telling you earlier as far as my struggles in college, time management, the pressures. And now I knew that this is a business now. I can't make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, you may make a mistake and your career's over. May get a bad rep. So for me, Dan was more so my checks and balances to make sure I was staying humble, make sure I was staying O'Brien Schofield. I was, so far beyond, not locking into what I'm supposed to be doing, because we can keep it real like that. It's like, nah, bro, you tripping. You ain't doing, you're supposed to be doing that. And that's, for me, that's what I needed. I know I needed that, And from a professional standpoint, his education allowed me to have him in different business meetings and different settings where be there and, it's not an ignorant conversation. You ask intelligent questions. And a lot of times he would know everything they're talking about. I'm like, dog, how you know that? Bro, I love the research. And that was I would say the team of people that you have around you is very important. Starting with your agent. Oh gosh, that's the number one thing. Having a good agent, having a trustworthy agent, having an agent that is going to go to bat for you, because some of these agents can make you feel like you're working for them, but
right,
happen that way. And you also got to understand that because they're working for you, that you can fire them. It's okay to fire them if they're not getting the job done, because that's another problem that you will run into, where it's like you're not satisfied with your opportunities and your agent don't have a lot of relationships around the league, so he can't just call every GM, can't even call anybody for a favor. There's some agents can get guys on teams as a favor, so you think about that, it's like you want to get yourself in a situation where you're hearing from the agent frequently. Some guys sign a contract, don't hear from the agent but maybe once or twice a year. That's ridiculous at the amount of money that you're paying him off of a contract, your financial advisor. And I would say, whoever you trust in your family, as far as mom, dad, to allow them to have access to your financial advisor, as far as checking on you, making sure you're not spending too much money into, you understand things, because they give you a lot of money at a young age, You don't know what to do with none of that. You don't know what to do with any of that. So it's just like you're saying, just having a great support system of people around you, people you can trust, that are educated, that can give you a real good opinion, a valuable opinion or assessment of what's going on, that's huge, because I would say that's where we're ruining a relationship with someone that's not educated, trying to bring them in the field, and then it's like, you know, you have an expectation, they cannot meet that expectation because of it.
Right. Talk to us about your relationship with your agent at the time, and how did you select the agent? We actually spoke with Mr. Mark McNeil on last week. He's worked with the NBA for over 12 years, and he gave us some do's and don'ts when, you know, players should be looking, you know, when they should be looking to, you know, hire an agent. What are some of the things your agent should already, you know, have done? One of the keys, I don't know if you remember this, Robert, but I thought this was really cool. He said, this is the first thing. He said, all players, he said, male, female, NBA, NFL, whatever. He said, one of the first things that all players should ask their agent, and this is a nugget, I thought this is so cool to me. He said, the first thing you ask your agent when he comes to you is his list of people who have fired him and why. He was like, because as a player, I want to know why you've gotten hired and fired. And he said, and it is not because I want to see, okay, well, I don't want to hire you, but I want to know your weaknesses. I want to know why people thought to let you go. And I thought that was a gem, because who would even think because you got to think, if I'm a football player or basketball or whatever sport, I'm nine times out of 10, I'm looking at the agent around my junior year. So I'm 20, 21. And I know for a fact, most agents are, you know, late 20s, early 30s. I'm not looking for anybody 21 to ask me, well, who have you been hired and fired by? So exactly. I thought that was a nugget. We've got to keep that, save that, tell our kids, you know, that should be one of the things. But talk us through how you selected your agent and then your relationship with your agent as well.
I actually selected my agent because he represented my cousin that played in the NFL for 15 years. And
okay.
I kind of knew him from going to
longevity
games. Yeah, kind of knew him from going to some of the games. And through the recruiting process in college, I just remember, like, maybe after my second or third game, I had a real crazy game. And then I just started getting all these random calls and text messages, and people wanting to set meetings and stuff like that. And it was just overwhelming, you know what I mean? And there was even some agents like getting mad at me because I wasn't like returning their calls or
wow.
You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, I'm definitely not dealing with you. You know what I mean? Like, you're never gonna make me feel any type of way. Like, I'm telling us to just focus on football, you know? And some of these agents, they try to catch these guys up and gifts, free dinners, a little side cash, because you're in college, you know what I mean? You need money always, you need food always, like just little things they just try to catch you up with, because if they can give you a gift in any type of way, then it's like, all right, cool, he accepted this, then all right, he got to sign with us. Because if not, I can just blow the whistle that he accepted gifts. His university is going to look at him a certain type of way. He might have to forfeit some games. Hopefully he win a championship. You know, all that plays into, you know, how the process goes. It's a dirty process. It's real dirty. A lot of agents would try to deal with the player rather than the parent. You know what I mean? Because the parent has your mind all right. They're like, nobody's gonna hurt my baby type thing. Like, the player is just, you know, you're just trying to get through the season. You're trying to understand the process of what's going on, because every agent's not a great agent. Like you said, I wish I would have knew to ask for the list of people that fired you, and, you know, because that's huge, man. That's I didn't find out till later that it's like, even at my school, my agent had went to Wisconsin, and a lot of the coaches did not want me to sign with him. They were like, nah, man, don't sign with him, you know, blah, 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 whatever his personality was. But from a professional standpoint, all the players that I talked to, they're like, oh yeah, man, he gets stuff done, and, you know. So I saw saw both sides. Like as I worked,
Okay.
I saw, yes, he got me deals. Even when I had contracts that fell through, he still got me, pretty solid deals. But I also saw like in public, like if I'm with him or with like how he conducted himself, I wanted to slap him sometimes, because of my professionalism, how I carry
Okay.
myself. So it's like that. That's a huge thing because you don't know how these teams see the agent. They may say, man, it's a joke. That could be the difference between you getting an opportunity versus someone else. It has a lot to do with the agent. Really, once you're not a draft pick, your free agent has a lot to do with the agent.
Okay. What were just regarding your agent? How did you ever know the negotiations he was making on your behalf?
Yes. Because
so that's important.
I didn't go verbatim, like I'm not sitting in on the meeting. You're not ever doing that. I'm not on a phone conversation. But I would get updated emails of everything that was talked about between both parties, what the team would say, what he said, any counter offers, or the offers they sent, like detail. Because I didn't play about that.
Okay.
But all the other stuff is just, I would say another thing that would be important to ask agents for is a list of guys that got second and third contracts on it.
Okay. Okay.
One contract, that's not what you're looking for. Most people don't get paid to that second contract. You don't really see the money till that second contract. So you don't want an agent that's only giving guys, their first rookie deal, and then he can't get you back on a team. He can't get you into a camp. That'll kill your chances as well.
Okay. Now, is your agent the same person that handles your finances? Because I know a lot of times we're in this generation now. I know for us, it's like I've met some guys where their agent is everything, and I'm always like, there needs to be a delicate balance, right? And I understand, you have some. The rebuttal is always why pay 5 people when I can pay one person to do 5 jobs. And so can you explain to us how important it was for you to have your agent as your agent, but then you're somebody else handling your finances? Because we see a lot of times players going broke after we see on TV that they've, over the years, they've accumulated $70 million or $9 million or whatever it is. So can you speak to us today about the importance for you financially, how it was important for you to keep your agent and your finances separate, but then when you just really got involved of saying, okay, I'm making this, I need to set this aside to purchase a home, and I need to set this aside to invest. Walk us through that relationship, and then just your mentality of saying to yourself, okay, I have this money, but now I have to put some of it aside because I have a family.
Yes, I would say you never want to have an agent and financial advisor. That's not a good. That's too close. You know what I mean? It's way too close. And even as far as paying people, I would say educate yourself in everything that you're paying somebody to do for you. Because even though you're paying somebody, you still can be schemed out of money. I've seen so many guys just get schemed out of money. Not go broke, but scheme. Because the agent is friends with the financial advisor. The financial advisor is friends with the trainer. The trainer is friends. It's a whole group. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you're going to pay the trainer this amount of money, which is a lot, but you're an athlete. It's a private gym, and I'm getting a little cut off that. You're going to use this financial advisor. I'm getting a little cut off that. You're going to use this PR person too. Cool. I'm getting a little cut off that. Like, you don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of agents that have that. There's a lot of agents that have that. So I would say educating yourself in finance. That's why ProSquared was going to be huge, because the financial literacy is a big deal. I mean, I never had $1,000 in my pocket at once. Then my first check was like $250,000. I'm 23 years old. What I'm supposed to do? I don't know what I'm doing with this. Probably go give me a nice car, probably go give me some jewelry, go give me some luggage. you know, that's what I was thinking. And
Yes.
the veterans that I was around, they were like 14, 13, 12 years in. So they got long money, they got the old money, and they got the old mentality. So
Yes.
you come in as a rookie and you're trying to be like the veterans. Like, it doesn't work that way. You're not getting paid nowhere near what they're getting paid. And I would say um, it's just important that you allow someone like a mom or a dad to just have access to a standpoint where they can just have a conversation with the financial advisor, even if you don't want them seeing your account and stuff like that. Like, is he doing a good job saving? Is he spending? Do we need to have a conversation? Because even financial advisors, man, if I could go back, I wouldn't hire anybody that I didn't have knowledge.
Okay.
You just don't know. You know, they can say they're educating you and educate you on the wrong thing just so they can scheme you. You know, I just seen it too many of my friends where it's like, you know, some guys thinking they're making an investment and it comes back and the guy never made the money. Like, you know Dan McFadden?
Yes, yes.
Did you see what happened with him with the Bitcoins?
Yes, with Bitcoin, yes.
Okay, $3 million he gave to invest in Bitcoins. And when it matured, he would have had 250 million. He goes to collect, finds out his guy never even put the 3 million in, blew that. It's like, what, you know? And those are things that happen to guys.
That's reality, yes.
All the time. So it's very important that your family is educated. My mom, she went and got her certification to be an agent. So she knew. So it was like, it wasn't no BSing, you know. I had said everything to my mom, let her look over it, like, nope, can't do that. You know, she would do that too. So it was like, it was good to have that support.
Okay. Does the reality of being a rookie player or a second year player set in because of the work that you're having to put in the league, or does it set in when you realize that my quarterback is like the end all be all of this team and I'm just like the linebacker, and that's finances? So what's the reality like that it sets in that, okay, I've got to compete here too? Because I know for everybody it's different. Some people it sets in when they realize, okay, I'm not the star running back, or I'm not as big as the linebacker on the team, and I'm a wide receiver. And then sometimes it sets in differently financially when you have these franchise players, right, in the locker room, but you're not necessarily a franchise player. So what is that reality like in the locker room, and how does someone, what is some of the advice that you would give to guys that are going to be rookies and then guys that are going to go on long term? Because a lot of what you and Daniel talked about just early on is just that mentality. But here we are yet again with the mentality, you kind of having to heighten that mentality, or a mentality switch, because like you guys said, playing at D1, I got there and now I have no time to waste. I'm on a schedule, somebody's checking for me, somebody's watching for me. I have a job to do, and that job is not just for me to do, but it's also for me to win. But then yet here we are again, maybe a few years later, now having that same process but at a higher level. So talk us through that reality and how that settles in as a rookie player and or a second year player.
I'm going to tell you the biggest difference is as far as college, when I was saying that they literally set your schedule, like everything is set out. And when you get to the NFL, you appreciate that because you're like, wow, they're really teaching me what I need to be doing to fill up my day. Like how active do I need to be in football to have success? Because now this is my job. This is no longer just a hobby. You know, like this is how I'm going to feed myself, my family. Like, and how long I play dictates on how well I perform. You know, so I would say the biggest thing is you're going to definitely see the politics from a financial standpoint.
Okay.
That it's just finance. You know, so there'll be guys that you're better than, but they're getting paid more than you, so they have to play. doesn't matter. You'll be surprised how many guys are like that are way better than some of the starters. But it's like, yeah, man, we're only paying you 400,000. We're paying this guy $5 million. He has to play. We can't pay him $5 million to sit on the bench, you know. And I would say the understanding that the NFL is the only sport with no guaranteed money. Like all your money is not guaranteed. So it's like whatever is guaranteed in the contract, that's all you're getting. And to even get that, you have to be on the roster week 1 of the season. So if you're not on the roster week 1, then you can get any contract. You can be cut at any point of the season because your contract won't be guaranteed no matter when you sign it. If you're not on the roster week 1 for an NFL team, you can sign week 2, week 3, your contract's not. So you're like week to week.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, in a competition standpoint, I never told myself I would stay. I always felt like I felt like I was losing my job every day. I put that pressure on myself to perform.
Okay.
That's what I do, because it's like I would never look back and say, oh, I regret I didn't do this, or I would leave any doubt to any coach, any trainer that I'm not all the way sold out on my job and what I'm supposed to be doing. But the eye opener is going to just be, you know, guys' personalities, you know, people that you looked up to, or, you know, you saw on TV and you actually meet those people and the a-holes, or the really nice people. Just tell you, it's just, you're behind the scenes now, because you know, now that I'm retired, I look at it, and I went to an Arizona Cardinals Seahawks game last year with my son, and that was my first time going to a game. Like, I've always never seen a game, you know, so I was like, this is crazy. This is what this looks like, you know? So to experience that, I looked at it and I completely understand that it's nothing but entertainment, and it's a production. How they sell it to the outside is a production, but the inside, I mean, you can go through a lot. I've had guys that were on practice squad that I had a teammate that got cut like 5 or 6 times during one season and kept getting brought back every other week. Like, he'll be there all week. They'll cut him like 2 weeks before the game, and then they'll bring him back another week. He'll get picked up by another team. And it's like, if you're married, you know, your wife can't really have a job, because if not, she's going to either have to stay in one location while you bounce around, you know, or she's going to be losing jobs and it's going to mess up her work. It's just a lot. Like, you don't even think about those things. You're picking up and uprooting your family. But from a financial standpoint, like when I played with the Cardinals, you definitely knew who Larry Fitzgerald was versus anybody else on the team. You know, you see the privileges, you see all of that. So it's something that if you like that and you appreciate that, you're working for that. You know, you're working for that. He was always an amazing teammate. He was always the guy that was like trying to show you how to do everything. There's a lot of guys that won't show you because you're a young guy. They're like, yo, you're trying to take my job. And flip side of the money. Here's the flip side for a veteran. As you get older in the league, they try not to pay you. Even though you have all the experience, you may have accolades, they try not to pay you. Because they're like, yo, why would I pay this 31-year-old guy $6 million? I know you can go get 10 sacks, but I got this 21-year-old right now.
Okay.
He potentially can get me 6 sacks, but we're gonna pay him $400,000. I'm gonna take this $400,000, say this $10 million, get some other players.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be wrapping up soon, but before we wrap up, we're gonna talk a little bit about you and Daniel's afterlife.
Okay.
You know, and just what you guys are getting into now. But the last thing I do want to ask you, just before we get into that, is that what are some of the things that you wish maybe that you would have taken advantage a little bit more while being in the NFL and being an NFL star? Because one of the things I'm always curious when I'm talking to my friends or some of the guys that I work with that are in the league, I'm always like, okay, you can pretty much go anywhere, depending on what you know, how many stars you have, right, in the league. I'm like, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world, you know, from banks to schools, to private businesses, to, you know, small business, and say, hey, I'm Brian, you know, I'm a Brian Schofield. I played with the Seattle Seahawks. I won a Super Bowl, you know, last year. I'm interested in maybe running an after school program, or I'm interested in maybe, partnering with you guys to do a carnival every year for everybody that makes the honor roll, just because you're an NFL star and people are going to say yes, they're just going to say yes to you. So what are some of the things that you wish you would have taken more advantage of, while being an NFL star, that could have helped you post the NFL? Because I'm always talking to the ProSquared team, because our plight is afterlife, after the league, right? And I'm always just saying, we've got to create, whether it's a program, or we just got to start having the conversation about saying, hey, you're an NFL star. Don't just use your NFL stardom to, go to the club or to buy a car and all of that. Let's use it. Right. Let's use it to figure out how you can, I don't know, become the principal of your high school after, or, be whatever it is, partnerships in hotel business or bank businesses. So what are some of the things that you wish you would have taken advantage of? Because those things that you wish you would have taken advantage of is something that we will use as a pitch to our players that we're going to be working with, to say, hey, you're in the league, you can go ask for this, and they're going to tell you yes.
I would say finding a way, something, whatever you like, whatever you love, because you have opportunity. Like, obviously you love football, whatever your sport is, but whatever your number one hobby is to find a way to get involved in that and to generate money from that.
Okay.
Because while you're in the NFL, you're making great money, so it's like you can do your hobby at the highest level. You can meet the highest level of those people. You can walk, like you're saying, you can walk into the office and have those conversations. I wish I would have had a PR person for real that just got me more opportunities. Most of the stuff I did on my own. My agent didn't have that. They had somebody at the agency, but food.
Okay.
I wish I had somebody that was legit. Because I look at some of these guys and just the people they were around, and other athletes, being around other athletes in other sports. That's a huge thing. Being able to broaden your horizon and your network. Because it's just like, once you finish playing, that network die off if you don't use it. There's teammates you don't really speak to. You follow on Instagram, you'll say what's up here. It's not that same camaraderie and fire and passion that you had in the beginning, and what I hate the most is the most cliche conversation is, man, if you ever need anything, just give me a call. You need a recommendation, I'll do anything to help you out. It's like, yeah, right. How many times I've called coaches to help me get coaching jobs, and they're like, oh yeah, so this is what you got to do. It's like, no easy in or anything like that. So it was an eye opener for me. I didn't have a plan as far as what I was going to do exactly right when I finished. I thought I was staying at least 3 more years. So I was still trying to get back in. I didn't recognize this is over until maybe 2018. So 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
My last game was end of 2016. And then whole 2017, I was a free agent. Just I got to the point where I'm working out for nothing. I'm not getting calls. I'm not motivated to work out, doing this type of training. So I stopped. I was like, that's it. I'm done. So I have 3 boys. I'm married. And I was like, let me put some time into my family. Let me support my wife, because she was a stay-at-home mom for me. She gave up her career for me. So I want to support her in the things that she's doing. And now, from a business standpoint, got a few things going. I have a sports agency that's out of Arizona. We actually signed Jonathan Taylor this year. That's from Wisconsin.
Okay.
He's one of our guys. And I have a soul food restaurant down in Nashville, Tennessee, called Rocky Wings. So he's there's with one of my college teammates as well. And then I have a new company right now that's getting off the ground. It's called Mobile Minds. And basically, we're helping people get their LLCs, we're building websites for startup businesses, and we're opening up a network for other mobiles, maybe some shadow opportunities. That's why I know that ProSquared and Mobile Mindset will be able to work together so well, because of just the ins. And I have the sports agency. So just being able to allow them to see those players and stuff like that.
Very well. Daniel, I want to let you tap in a little bit because you were over there, like agreeing with him with some of the stuff that he was saying just in regards to that post life. And so give us your, what were you over there agreeing to? And then just kind of give us some of your, what are you up to today?
So as far as just what I was agreeing to is just that, everything that he was pretty much saying is just spot on. What am I doing today? I serve as a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. And so we just do holistic financial planning and focusing on financial literacy.
Okay. And so have you been doing that since previously working with O'Brien pretty much as his right-hand man?
No, I have not. So I had a little bit of a kind of meandering path. After I finished working for O'Brien, I decided to go back to school. I needed one credit to complete my bachelor's.
Wow.
So I had to go back to, that college algebra, it got me. I don't understand, how you put a letter in an equation and it comes out as a number. So I'll get that, but so I had to go back to Madison, and then during that time I decided to go ahead and get my master's. So I got that in educational leadership and policy analysis, and the plan at that time was just to help focus on athletes being better able to transition from coming out of college to the real world, because I saw the situation I was in coming out and not really understanding that. But my passion was always in business. And so Bob connected me with a franchise business owner with Culver's. And so for a few years, I went through their management trainee program, franchise owner trainee program, and realized that at that time, it really wasn't the best opportunity for me. And it really wouldn't allow me to have the biggest impact, as far as like educating people. So I decided to start this practice about a year ago. And so that's what I've been doing.
Nice. Thank you. I mean, go ahead, Rob.
Well, I was just going to say, before we wrap up, I was just going to see if Ron Wynn had any direct questions, and then we can wrap it up. But go ahead, Melania, and then Ron.
Oh, Ron, you go ahead, because I was just about to ask a question regarding just gonna actually make a statement. It really wasn't a question, just because of the fact that I think what's really interesting about the two stories here today is that they both had a goal at 7, right? And so we see that it's important at a young age to even already have an idea of what it is that you want to do. But I think the most interesting thing about the two stories is that both of them, both Daniel and O'Brien, were able to uniquely not only invest in themselves mentally, but they were also able to invest in themselves because they knew that, okay, regardless of whether A, going to the league or B, not going to the league, I have to be doing something, or I want to assist, or I want to be persistent in assisting other people or other students that would like to get here. And so your stories are very interesting. I think they are beautifully, I think they are beautifully intertwined. And I think it's just really cool, Daniel, to see those two hats, because unlike O'Brien, that went from plan to plan to plan to plan, you went from playing, and then, like you said, I was actually able to really get a good look or outlook on being an NFL or being an NFL without even being in it. And so sometimes, and I make that comment by saying that sometimes our perception of things are totally different once we are now face to face with the reality that it takes in being a player. So I just commending the both of you all for the route that you all took, for the responsibility that you all knew that you had to have at such a young age to be the men that you are today, but then to as well be able to speak on the things that you all experienced as college players and then as professional men as well. So Ron, you go ahead. I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay, well, first, I've enjoyed very much the interview. I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
And the only question, well, two questions quickly. to the individual, I think it's OB, who had a business in Nashville. What business is that? Because I'm in Nashville.
Okay, it's Rocky Wings, Rocky Wing Shack. It's a soul food restaurant.
Oh, that's your place?
Yes.
I've been in there.
Oh yeah. Thanks for throwing it in.
All right. That's good to know. All right. And the other question is, do either of you gentlemen keep up now with either your college or pro teams? Do you still maintain an interest in football, or have you pretty much just said, well, that part of my life is over, and whatever?
My first couple years out of the league, I was not watching any football at all. I just kind of felt some type of way just about the business, because I it's just like, what it really is, so it's just like I felt some type of way. It took a while for me to really get back in it and get excited about it. Really watching my brother play basketball. Now he's in the NBA. That really got me full circle, excited about sports all over again. But that was just a tough thing. But now I'm still big on my Seahawks. That's my team. I follow the Seahawks. I'm living in Arizona. I follow the Seahawks, and I do follow Wisconsin football. But I mean, man, I wish I was a bigger part of like what they got going on.
Daniel, are you still at all involved?
Not really. As far as for me, it took me a long time to really, I just now really started back sitting down and like watching football games, because for me, I didn't go, and I can pinpoint some of the decisions that I made in college and just some of the mindset that I had. And it's like, I don't think I wanted it as bad as I thought I did,
Wow.
And so for me, it's just coming to grips with that reality, and understanding, watching it just as a pure entertainment kind of thing. But I just now really started just being able to like sit down, kind of, watch football and actually enjoy it again without having kind of like an emotional roller coaster. Like, man, should I have, done this, or should I have done that, or, just those questions. I don't want to call it regret because that's such a negative connotation, but there's a goal that I set forth that I didn't attain. And so it's a little bit emotional kind of watching it.
Right. You realize you could have done something different.
Right. And not even realizing that I could have done something different is that realizing that what I think that I really wanted, I didn't want that bad. Because I tell O'Brien all the time, bro, I could never do the stuff that he did to just stay in the league. You know what I mean? And some of the decisions that he made, like, I know I wouldn't have made those decisions because I was right there. I made the exact opposite. So, it's just, realizing that part. But, I'm forever grateful for playing football because everything that I've learned as far as being like a professional, I've learned that from Bob is where I got my business acumen, but just really how to conduct myself and just kind of be out there, with no life raft. I just revert to what principles I learned in football. So I'm forever grateful to that.
Yes, thank you guys so much. We are going to continue to move this needle. Like I said, what we really want to do here at ProSquared is reestablish a code of ethics and professionalism for athletes all across the world, all while educating and informing them on the realities of being an exponential athlete. And so and the both of you represent that. And we're gonna, definitely stay in contact with you guys because O'Brien, I would even want to invite your wife on and interview her, because I think even a lot of times, we see on TV, who our athletes choose to marry and how our athletes choose to marry. And so we also want to tap into the reality that, guys, it's important for you to, build relationships with someone that you plan to marry or somebody that you want to be with that understands at least the game and the business of the game and the reality of the game. So even getting her female perspective, because you said you guys have 3 sons, correct? So she possibly would be, now she would possibly later on in life be in the seat of the mom of the player that's being drafted or being recruited. And so just understanding, her reality as a female and dealing with your mental health and coming home, and even Daniel with you and your family, understanding what that reality was like transitioning after college, and then building relationships so that you could now enjoy a longevity life with a partner as well. So we definitely want to keep that conversation open. We of course we can't pack everything into one interview. We had a legit focus today, and so our focus today was just getting you all stories and your experiences, which I think were beautifully painted. And I always like to tell our audience that the people that we bring on, it's their personal experience, and so we don't want you to walk away and later tweet like, well, O'Brien and Daniel said do this, so I'm doing this and that's the right way. No, we want you to take the elements and the keys and the knowledge that they're giving you and figure out how you can apply it to your life and your college and your NFL experience, or share with someone else how to apply it and assist them on their experience in college and football. And so I always have to get that disclaimer, because that just makes it transparent, and that frees us up of some trouble as well. And so I really thank you guys. We have, so as always, we always have something. We leave as a ProSquared team and our participants leave. Somebody's going to call me and say, oh my gosh, I did not know that. Or, oh my gosh, I can now tell my son. Or, oh my gosh, my husband and I need to prep ourselves and prepare ourselves for X, Y, and Z. And so I just thank you guys today. And I hope and definitely look forward to doing this again on a different level, and maybe on a different topic as well. And congratulations on your many accomplishments. And we're looking forward to just really just building a relationship with you guys so that ProSquared can take off.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you folks very much.
Thank you all so much.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Be in touch. Take care.
All right,
Thank you
sounds good.
guys. Take care.